Georgetown was always a working class neighborhood, very blue collar. A lot of the families that are still here have been here for generations.
And yes, we live right on the edge of some of the poorest areas in Philadelphia. Actually, I've heard in the East Coast.
In this neighborhood, in a part of the city with a really high rate of overdose and a really high rate of drug use at all. And we didn't really do anything about that.
Houses are insanely expensive compared to what they used to be.
You know that the neighborhood has changed yet again when you go to the local IGA and there's a Maserati pulling into the parking lot. That's not something that would have been here 5 years ago. As the redevelopment pastor, I spent a lot of time talking about my model was kind of like spaghetti against the wall, or maybe the more biblical version is Paul's missionary journeys, where they go from one city to the next and nothing seems to be working until they finally reach the place where the Spirit intended them in Macedonia.
And I think the neighborhood has done a lot of changing, for better or for worse. And I think Atonement has both seen and internalized a lot of that, and is in kind of a really unique place to address some of these issues.
From my perspective, I think it's more about building community. I think we're in an era where a lot of folks just don't trust organized religion in any way, shape, or form, that they've been disappointed or feel there's hypocrisy.
Why is it that we're cooking spaghetti in the first place? Why is it that Paul was on a missionary journey in the first place? And asking that question, which becomes one that's more a question of identity.
I'm glad to see all the different programs we've started, because we have to be realistic about where we live.
Well, we let one organization meet here about bi-weekly or so. They're having a meeting tomorrow. They do naloxone trainings, Narcan trainings, and they train people how to dispose of syringes in the street safely, things like that.
I do like all the ideas with the concert series, because it is world-class music. I wouldn't miss them. That's a good thing, because I see people I haven't seen in church.
And for the women's organization, once a month we make them a big meal, and also we ask them every month, what sort of supplies do you need, and then the next month we bring them to them.
The way that we try and address that, or I try and address it as well, is just by opening our doors up at Playgroup and welcoming families in, which in turn gets them to meet the folks.
We're trying to sense God's call, and rather than that becoming a kind of thing we do every once in a while where we get together and kind of process and draw charts or whatever to try to figure out what it is that God is doing in the community that we're called to do, instead make that part of who we are. That kind of constant discernment of, God, what are you calling us to next? Because you're the one with the mission, and we're your church. I think that's why I'm so thankful for something like the Forward in Faith campaign and the grants that are coming from it, is that it's through that resource has made it far easier for us as a community to begin that kind of spiritual journey, to see ourselves as partners with God. That's what stands behind God's work, our hands, is that partnership with God, friendship with God, that calls us to be witnesses to God's kingdom breaking into this world. So thank you.